Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to do a makeup video for you guys where I'm going to talk about makeup, but I'm also going to talk about what I've been reading recently, two of the things that I am passionate about and that I want to talk on this channel, and just do some updates and tell you guys where I've been and just chat for a little bit, have a nice chill video. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna show you some of my favorite products I've been using recently because I feel like I've gotten my routine that I really like pretty down pat. Okay, so also my last video was a vlog from where we went to Tybee Island with my family, and I am still like a freckle from that trip and I'm darker than like more tan than I have been in a long time. So that's might also be why I look a little bit different. But I'm gonna start out with my current favorite primer, or at least one of them. Primer is something I always do with my makeup because I feel like it really just makes your makeup stay and last longer. And if you get the right primer, it makes your skin feel really nice and like your makeup not seem as heavy. So this one is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. This is what it looks like. And also just for reference, like I primarily use drugstore makeup. I don't use a lot of expensive makeup or even like moderately expensive makeup because I feel like there's so much in this base that's like cheaper that is so good. So like this is what it looks like. It's like a gel consistency. And now this may be alarming to you at first if you're not used to primer because it is pretty sticky. So like you rub it in, I normally do like one pump or like a pump and a half on my hand. And I just like try to evenly distribute it and rub it in, and it gets like tacky as you rub it in further. And the point of that is like it's really gonna make your foundation like adhere to your skin and make your makeup last a really long time. Okay, so I'm going for like a lighter coverage today, and I'm gonna use two tinted moisturizers, which is what I've been doing lately. But this one from ColourPop, the Pretty Fresh tinted moisturizer, is pretty good coverage. So like if you wanted to use this on its own, like it's still pretty decent coverage and it's a beautiful finish. And then I'm combining it with the Makeup Revolution Super Dewy Skin Tint because I have drier skin. This one's a little bit more mattifying, so when you combine these, I feel like you get like a perfect match. Also, this might not be a perfect color match for me right now, so I apologize if that's distracting, but what I do is I normally just like, I'll put a couple lines on my face, and I always use a beauty blender or like a sponge to do my foundation and my concealer. So I'll do a little bit like that, and then and then I will go directly on top of it or like below it and put another little bit of that. And that one is way more yellow than the other one, but I feel like when you combine them, like it ends up working out like it's supposed to color wise, close enough really. And so then I'll kind of like swirl them together a little bit and spread it out. Yeah, that's really yellow. The lovely process of makeup. So I'm gonna take a damp sponge. I think this is from Wet n Wild, I believe, and just like bounce that into my skin. This is gonna be hard to do this part and talk, but I'm gonna try. So recently I've been trying to, I work a full-time job, and I will say like I don't want to go into details of my job, but I work in retail, so my schedule's not regular. So it's hard when you have, like, I have so many hobbies, and like, I'm grateful to have like the privilege to partake in all of my hobbies. Like, I know that's a pretty privileged place to be in, so I don't want this to come off as like complaining, but I mean, it's just the state of the facts. I don't have time really to do all of my different hobbies. So I have to pick and like prioritize depending on like what mood I'm in, which I'm trying to become more of like go with the flow, and more like just do what I want when I want to, instead of feeling like I have to be like super structured. And I think that makes sense. I'm pretty sure you get that. But I don't have to plan everything out, but I do have to like know what I want to do with my free time. But I also am working on, and this is something that I've been talking about in therapy. I'm very open about the fact that I go to therapy. And I think it's great for everyone, even if you don't have like a big issue that you need to solve or like something very traumatic going on, I think it's really important to just like work on yourself constantly. So that's a really good tool for that. You don't have to do that to work on yourself. You can work on yourself in other ways without therapy, but it's a really good tool. Anyways, all that to say, blabbering, that I'm also learning to just like relax, and like I don't have to fill every single second with something that I want to do, but I have a lot of stuff I want to do, so there's a balance. Anyways, basically, okay, let me show you my concealer that I'm going to use. So now I'm going to use the CoverGirl True Blend concealer. This is what it looks like. This has really good coverage, so a lot of times I will use like a lighter coverage foundation and then a little bit heavier coverage concealer, just because it like evens it out. You can add the coverage where you want to and not just like all over your face if that's not what you're looking for. So yeah, I right now have been streaming a lot on Twitch on my podcast. If you don't know, I have a gaming podcast with one of my good friends, Jerica. I'll put that information on the screen if you don't already follow me there. But if you're interested in video games, I've been playing a lot of video games on Twitch. So like live streaming them more. So I've been playing, like right now I just played 2 Point Campus for the first time on Twitch, and that is like a sim game where you like are a school administrator, and it's really fun because I love a good sim game and like customization. So if you like that, you'll really like the game. It's kind of cozy and like funny. Okay, that is light, but we're gonna bronze and fix it, I promise. I just can't find like a good way to match my skin tone right now because I don't normally get this dark, so I don't want to buy a foundation and not need it when it goes away. Oh, I forgot to show you the powder that I'm using, and I'm gonna do like a loose powder on mainly the places that I use concealer. This is the ColourPop No Filter Loose Setting Powder. It's like a translucent powder, and I usually will put this just like on the places that I put concealer, like I said, so that like they're not as sticky, and then I'll go over with like a pressed powder on the rest of my face if I need to. But I just take it on the sponge and I go directly under my eyes to prevent, I feel like this really helps prevent creasing. Even though like that concealer I showed you is like really good at not creasing on its own. So I think you could get away with not powdering if like you're very dry. I just feel like it really like smooths everything out, especially like when your sponge is already a little damp. Anyways, what I was talking about, okay, so I've been playing video games a lot. I just finished Stray, the new cat game that's like taking over the internet, and one of our most recent episodes on our podcast was about like our first impressions, and I really enjoyed it. It's an indie game, which is really cool. And if you don't know video games, that basically just means like it's made by like an independent studio, so they're not like super like crazy funded, and it's like more like little passion projects from people, which I love supporting. So yeah, those are kind of like the games I've been playing lately. I also really like battle royale type games, so I've gotten, like, this sounds silly, but like really into Fortnite. But we play it with our friends, so it's like a really fun like social thing. And I really like Apex Legends as well, which is another battle royale game. Battle royale, for my non-video game folks, means like it's you against like a bunch of other people online, and you can, a lot of times you can like pair up with your friends and go against all these people. Okay, so the powder that I'm gonna dust over the rest of my face is the Essence Brighten Up powder. It's kind of like, it says it's a banana powder, but it's pretty translucent, to be honest. And I just do this so that like when I go through with my bronzer and like everything, that it's not, that foundation is a little bit like tacky or like sticky. So I don't want things to like move. So I'm not really doing this to add coverage. I'm doing this to like make it not sticky. And again, these are all products that like have been my main go-tos recently. I haven't been wearing makeup a ton lately, and so I've found like my staple products that like are my favorite to use right now, and that obviously changes and like varies from time to time, but I am going in with this brush. I have loved these Alamar cosmetic brushes. This is a small Latin women-owned company, Alamar. The cosmetics that I really like, they're cruelty-free, and I believe they're vegan as well. So this is the brush that I'm going to use for my bronzer. It's like a more thick, compact brush that I like to use. And this is the also Alamar Cosmetics bronzer palette, or like sculpting palette. There's like a banana. I don't really use this one a lot. And then there's 2 different shades of bronzer. These also come in multiple shades. So like you can get one that's more suitable for darker skin, light skin, or medium skin. I think this is the medium one. But I usually combine the light and the dark one just like together because I feel like that ends up working out pretty well for my skin tone. And then I'm just gonna go in like an E shape around my face and then a little bit on my nose and a little bit on my chin. Right now I will sometimes like go over with my whatever brush I used for my powder, which this is an e.l.f. brush by the way. And I'll just kind of like blend it out a little bit so it's not as harsh. I have nothing on my brush, I'm just kind of going over everywhere that I put bronzer. Okay, so let's talk about books for a minute. I have been reading a good amount of books, but not quite as many as I would like. I have so many that I want to get to that I just haven't had the time to at this time. I think the last book video I did was a like mid-year freakout tag, I believe, which I think I did in like June-ish. So I don't remember exactly what books I have talked about that I've read since then. Let me see. Okay, so I'll just kind of talk about the standouts that I've read since that last video. So this is really going to be kind of like a summary of July in my favorite books, and probably August so far. So my most recent book that, well, let me talk about my blush first. Hold on. See, I'm already getting distracted. So I really like this blush from CoverGirl. This is like the super old school packaging, but I don't even care. This is kind of like a shimmery pink shade that I really like. It's called Soft Mink. And I'm gonna use the other blush, Alamar brush, and get that on there pretty good. I've been really enjoying a lot of blush lately. So we're gonna pack that in there. And then I'm just gonna go over the outcomes of my cheeks. And I also like to put a little bit on my nose now too. Okay, so the most recent book I finished is actually, I started reading the Game of Thrones series. I really enjoyed the show, watched it a long time ago, closer to when it came out. Like many, I was not super happy with the way that it ended. But hey, not everything gets to go your way in life. So I was curious, like, I'm one of those people, it's interesting that like, I really like consuming both the book and the like TV adaptation, whether it be a show or a movie. And I really don't care which one I do first, honestly. Like, I know that there's a lot of controversy sometimes around that, but like, to me it's fine. Like, I feel like if you like Game of Thrones, I feel like was really helpful to have already seen the show, so because there's so many characters and like it's a really in-depth fantasy, like world building wise. So I feel like it was helpful to have seen the show first so that I could picture the characters in my brain. Moving on, ignore her. I'm going to use... Okay, sorry, Hunter called me and I had to answer, so I was doing my makeup while I was talking to him. So I did my highlight, which you can see. I just did it on the cheekbones and on the tip of my nose. And this is the Here Kitty Kitty highlight by ColourPop. And I used this brush from Alamar. It's like, it came in the set that I got the other ones with, to kind of just brush on the cheekbones. Then I used, this setting spray from Mario Badescu and just set my face. It's very refreshing and nice. So now I'm gonna go in with a little bit of eyeshadow. I have no idea what my plan is for this, to be honest with you, but I got this palette recently from my mom. Got this for me. It's a Lilo and Stitch palette from Wet n Wild, and it is super cute. It's got a lot of fun summer shades in it. I know we're almost done with summer, which thank God, I'm ready for fall, but that's the colors. And I think I'm gonna keep it pretty tame today. I'm not really going anywhere. So I'm gonna use, this shade is sparkly, but I think that like, I think it might be better once it's on the eyes and not as sparkly. But Wet n Wild has good eyeshadows for like good quality but lower price, so I always think that's cool. So I'm gonna just I have a brush from Luxie, and it's kind of like a angled fluffy brush. And so normally what I do is I start at the outer corner and kind of fluff it up into my crease like this. I don't know if you can see really what I'm doing here. Eyeshadow is very hard to explain for me, and then I kind of go to the corner of my eye and go out a little bit like that, and just kind of shape the crease of my eye with that first shadow. And I usually just start lighter, and then I add the deeper dimension colors as I go on. Hope that makes sense, but you kind of see. Okay, so talking about books still, I was talking about Game of Thrones. I loved the first book. They're long. Now, they're really long, but to me, the detail that it adds is really cool. Like, right now, it's pretty, like, the first book is pretty on par with the first season of the show, which I've heard from other people that, like, that diverges more, like, once you continue the series, and he hasn't actually finished writing the books yet, so we don't know how the ending is in his books. I assume it'll probably be close. I don't know. We'll see. But really enjoyed that first book. I read it with one of my friends, and it was a fun, like, discussion because the friend that I read it with has not seen the show, so it was cool to see, like, the comparisons that we made and just, like, the different perspectives. Another book that I read recently was I read the first manga of Tokyo Ghoul. So manga and anime is something that I've been getting into also recently, and that is fairly newish to me, like a newish form of media. I'm going in with this shade now, this like reddish brown, with the same brush, and I'm gonna do similar motions but like a little bit more concentrated because it's that deeper color. So just kind of gonna blend that into the other color, place that color there where I want it first, and then drag it into like the lower crease. Do that corner movement. So yeah, really been trying to get into more manga or anime. If you have any suggestions, let me know below. But I'm watching Demon Slayer for the first time, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a beautiful show. I really like the story, and like the brother-sister relationship I think is very unique for a manga or an anime, I'm sorry. And then I started reading Tokyo Ghoul, so I read the first edition. I've finished the anime. It's following pretty closely so far, and I really like reading it, as well as like I enjoyed watching it. It got a little weird towards the end, like towards the last season, but I still really enjoyed the anime. Okay, so I normally don't talk about things that I don't like on here as much because I try to read in my taste a lot. And recently we started a book club at my work, and that has kind of forced me out of my comfort zone when it comes to reading. But funny enough, this one is not from the book club. This is one that I had seen a lot of people liked, and I hope this isn't like a super controversial opinion, but I don't know, because there's things I liked about it. So I read Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, which is a pretty popular like book talk and booktube book that was going around for a while. I'm gonna use this dark shade with a more concentrated brush. This is a ColourPop brush, and I'm gonna focus that on the outer corner primarily. So I thought it was fine. I liked the message, but it was a little too like silly for me, especially with it being a deeper message. Like, I thought some of the characters were very outlandish, which I think is part of the point. I don't know, maybe it just like kind of missed the mark for me. Like, I didn't really know what to expect going into it, so it kind of like made it a different experience for me. But it was fine. I rated it 3 stars, I think, or maybe 2, I don't know, because I mean it was a good book. It's not like the writing was bad, it just was like kind of cringy for me a little bit. I don't know if anyone else felt that way. So that is that darker shade. It looks a little scary right now, but I'm gonna blend it all together, and it definitely looks fall, and I didn't mean for it to, but it's fine. I'm gonna go back in with that first brush and just go over everything to try to blend it back together. Sometimes you just gotta trust the process. Okay, so that book was not great for me, but one book that I did really enjoy that was our July book of the month for our book club was The Heiress. I don't have the author's name, but I'll put it on the screen. This is a story, I'm gonna go in with this NYX glitter primer. I've used this for years. I just use like a tiny amount and I put it on my finger and I do like this, where I spread it out a little bit, and then I put it on my lid like that. On each of my lids. And I don't go too far out like I do on like mainly the inner part, because that's where we're gonna put our glitter. And I haven't decided what glitter I want to use yet. I'm not super impressed with the glitters in the Wet n Wild palette, so I'm gonna use my Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Volume 2 palette, because there is a lot of pretty glitters in here. And I think I'm gonna go with this one, Rider Diamonds. It's like a brown glitter, brownish pink glitter. And anytime I use glitter, I normally use my finger and just pat it on there like that, because I feel like I always get the best results that way. Anyways, talking about The Heiress, this is a Pride and Prejudice story, so it is based off of Anne de Bourgh, I forget how to pronounce it exactly, but I thought this was really cool. It's really like, I mean, it takes place in the late 1800s, I believe, like the same time as Pride and Prejudice. So like you're dealing with obviously like women oppression and like inequality, just because that's like literally just how it was at the time. Topical. But it's really cool because it's a lot about like women empowerment and like breaking out of the norms. Essentially the plot is, and this is okay to reveal because like it's literally on the back of the book, but it's like about what is explored in the book, is when Anne is a baby, she is like super fussy and her mom doesn't know how to help her, and they give her basically drugs, laudanum drops, which I believe is still used in some cases. I don't know if it's in different contexts. Really quick, I'm gonna go in with this small like angled brush from ColourPop, and I'm gonna go in kind of like the same order we did, so like with the lighter shade, and then do my underneath my eye. So basically they give her these drops and she becomes addicted to them, and like naturally, because it's like an opiate, and everybody is just like, oh, she's just sick, so she needs them. So I guess they don't, you know, it's the late 1800s, so they don't really understand like addiction, I guess, and especially like medical addiction. And so they just think that she's sick, and whenever they try to stop taking it, obviously she gets sick because she's reliant on them. And so it just kind of goes from there. Like she grows up having to do this, and she grows up believing she's completely limited by her like disability. And so it's very interesting, especially in like the time frame, to see how like that pans out. So I really enjoyed it. I rated it 4 stars just because like there were some plot moments that were a little slow for me, and I don't know if I would recommend this to everyone. I think this kind of has to be like something that you're already interested in, but like it's told in like the way of a classic, but like it's very accessible. It's not like super old English speak. Like I feel like anybody could read it and like understand. Alrighty, so we finished up the makeup with just some mascara, and I put my nose ring in just to complete the look, and this is where we're at. I feel like it came together really well. It's just like a nice natural everyday, not natural because like there's a lot of eyeshadow more than I would normally do, but you get the gist. So this is the finished look, and I wanted to end on a good note. I have my laptop down here, that's why I'm like keep looking down here. Wanted to end on the 2 favorite books that I've read recently. The first one being Gallant by V.E. Schwab, which I read this month, the beginning of this month, or the end of last month, doesn't matter. But this book was so cool. It is by V.E. Schwab, who writes a lot of different books, or Victoria Schwab. She writes under both pen names. I believe this is technically a young adult book, but I feel like it's awesome for all age groups, honestly. I've actually been a lot more active on TikTok lately, so I would love if you would follow me there, but I posted like a little like about this book, like if you like certain things. And this has a lot of really cool tropes that I really like. It's got like the found family, the like creepy mansion inherited vibes. It's got a really creepy and like intimidating antagonist, which is really cool. And it feels like if you've ever played the video game Little Nightmares, that's the kind of vibe it gives you. It's got a really cool vibe. It's fantasy. It's like a fantasy horror. But if you don't like scary stuff, it's not like insanely scary. So like it's definitely readable. If you don't love scary things, it's more just like creepy and eerie. And it's cool because it's from a perspective of a girl who is mute. So it's interesting the way that they go about that. It also has really pretty pictures in the book, so I suggest reading it physically if you want to read it. Yeah, it's got really good art. I think it is a really great book for everyone, so you should definitely read it. It's in my top. Now, here is probably in the running for one of my favorite books that I've read this year, and that is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I recently finished the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and it is one of my favorite series of all time now. Definitely lives up to the hype for me. House of Earth and Blood is the first book in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas, so it's a separate series. And this one was a little bit harder to get into for me. The book is very big and it's very long. So it does a lot of world building and like character setup in the beginning. It's a large chunk of the beginning of the book, but I promise you once you get through that part, and it is important, that it just like takes you on this journey. It's like an epic adventure. It's got romance, it's got mystery, it's got great characters, it's got a really unique female like strong personality that I really like, the main character. So definitely recommend that. It's kind of like you open with like a mystery that you're trying to solve, like something terrible has happened to your friends. And she has these powers that she doesn't have powers. It's a weird, you just have to read it. It's kind of hard to explain. I'll put the blurb on the screen, but one of my favorite books now, for sure. I think that's all I have to talk about as far as books, and I finished the makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really wanted to share with you the books that I've read recently, and also like my current favorite makeup products and how I apply them. So I hope that this video was fun for you to watch, and if you have any other suggestions, you can always leave them below, and I'll be happy to read them and do them for you guys. So I'll see you next time. Bye.